I'm David Main, President of the Norwood Chamber of Commerce. I would like to welcome you to our, I guess it could call quarterly or semi-annually or whatever since COVID meeting of the Chamber. Today we will hear from Mayor Vic Snyder, the State of the City address, what's going on in the city of Norwood, and future directions as such. I would like to take this opportunity, they'll be coming up later, but just introduce some of the board members that are present. The Vice President is Tim Kling. I saw him in the room. Secretary Treasurer is Donna Lake. I saw her. Tracy Tomer, board member, past president, she tells me for 5 years, is here. Rodney Rogers with the Norwood Historical Society. Mary C. Miller with Norwood Together. Tim Blankenhorn, representing Park National Bank. I almost said Huntington, but I know that'd be wash my mouth out with soap. And Mike Skelly, our city liaison. In addition, 2 members couldn't be with us today or are out of town. Our commitments: Jim Perry of Perry Contracting and Stephanie Downs of Shepherd Chemical. I would like to also mention a couple of dates to keep in mind. One of them is coming up on May 18th. It's the Regional Chamber of Commerce, the local Chamber of Commerce Power Luncheon. It's held at, I believe, at noon on May 18th, and I believe it's at Raffles Catering. Oh, incidentally, I apologize. I also want to introduce our executive director, Kathy Walters. She's been with the chamber going on 25 years, starting in 1997. And incidentally, the Chamber of Commerce has been around since 1957. So, you know, it's had quite a date. The other date, and probably even from our standpoint, I want you to please mark on your calendars, is July 26th. It's a Tuesday evening. It's the Norwood Day Parade. At one time, it was Norwood Day at Coney, but it is, Donna, we're still on for the 26th of July?
For
Norwood Day Parade.
And the parade is the 26th.
Okay, the 26th is the parade. Okay, okay. The parade is the evening of the 26th. Usually the weather is outstanding, maybe a little bit warm, but so far I think it's seldom ever rains, but please mark the 26th in particular for the Norwood Day Parade. At this point, while you're enjoying your lunch, I would like, before we hear the State of the City, I would like to ask that the members of the that I've introduced come up and for an installation of board members and officers.
Stand in front of us?
We can stand in front of this, I guess.
It's like I gave it 2 minutes ago. No, it's right there. It just looks like the same.
Well, it's close.
Hi, it's my privilege to, I guess, swear you all in. So, do you typically raise your hand?
Anybody
bring a Bible?
raise your hand.
Raise your right hand. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Repeat after me. I'm not into trouble. In accordance with the Norwood Chamber of Commerce bylaws.
In accordance with the Norwood Chamber of Commerce bylaws.
I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
To uphold the purposes.
To uphold the purposes.
And to actively support.
And to actively support.
The programs and activities of this organization.
Programs and activities of this organization.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
As mayor of the city of Norwood, I hereby officially install you as officers and trustees for the year 2022. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll shake hands.
Oh, incidentally, after this meeting, I'll fill my fellow board members in on the the password and the secret handshake. So, what do you mean? I got that from Tim. There's the secret handshake. Yeah, you see? He wouldn't lie. Mayor Victor Snyder is the 25th mayor of the city of Norwood. This is according to the Norwood Historical Society. So if I'm off, then Rodney's out there. Rodney, you can check with Rodney. However, there have only been 23 men served. I'm sorry, Donna, you had your chance. No women have been mayor of Norwood. And the reason is kind of like with 23 versus he being the 25th is Vic actually served briefly back in early, right after, for covering the term for a former mayor. So he's kind of like the Grover Cleveland, where he served briefly and then came back later and served. So hence, while he's the 25th mayor, there's only been 23 individuals. I'll be correct on that. Anyway, Mayor Snyder has held numerous positions within the city: Director of Public Service, Superintendent of Public Works, a 3-term city council member, and he was appointed mayor and elected mayor. His background includes certification as a firefighter, also as a police officer, as well as certified and licensed community association manager. He attended the University of Cincinnati and Xavier University and holds multiple certifications through many years of study. In addition, he's worked 17 years for town properties management in various roles and is currently a regional vice president. He has a foundation of high-level service and exceeding expectation. He has led to many challenging positions in which he raised the standard level of service. Mayor Snyder is an advocate of lifelong training and education, professionalism, and service to others. His hobbies and interests include, in addition to being mayor, the Boy Scouts of America, Troop 9 organizational member, the United Way, American Cancer Society, Light the Night, KFC Fraternal Organization, the Norwood Marching Indians Band Booster, and the Moose Lodge 301 Fraternal Organization. With that, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Mayor Snyder. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much. We can make sure this stays on. I don't know if we really need much of it, but how'd you turn that on and off here? I think it's back on. Is it back on? I don't know how it'll work. But I'll try to speak loudly and clearly, and if I'm not being loud and clear, then somebody raise their hand in the back and put your hand to your ear and we'll know right away. It is a privilege and honor to address you this, is it afternoon yet? Yeah, this afternoon. It's a privilege and honor to be here with all of you. I know that being a member of the Chamber of Commerce means that you care. You care about your community. You don't just care about your business. You care about the community that your business is in. And that's what the state of the city is, to try to get you up to speed on some of the things that have been going on within the city. When I came into office, it was interesting. I took over after a mayor had been in the role for 16 years, so a long-term mayor. So there were a lot of interesting things that I felt needed to change, and we've worked on those. One of the first things that I ran into, and it's sort of trial by fire, or the hottest fire makes the strongest steel. Right away, we ran into a lot of unrest, and Cincinnati was having a lot of different challenges. Those, because we're right here in Cincinnati, we had some of those same challenges. So for the first time since World War II, we had a potential for calamity. We put a curfew in place. Norwood's not used to having a curfew. We didn't have curfews in the 60s. We didn't have curfews prior to that. So that was a big change. It was a big transition in understanding what was going on in our region, and we definitely are part of a region. The second part of it was this little thing that got some people sick. So COVID struck, and that was a major challenge. Closing down city services, closing down City Hall. We don't have padlocks on City Hall. I mean, it's always operational. So that was an interesting part too. the same thing that all the other businesses went through, working from home. And how do you still get the services, critical, essential services completed? And then thinking about, okay, if we had COVID strike, our paramedics and our units, how do we provide the services that are necessary? Firefighting, emergency services, police services. So really major challenges. And I would like to say, I feel like we got through all that. I feel like we did well. We continued to provide the level of service that was necessary. At the same time, the city has been in a fiscal emergency for the last few years. We are right on the edge of coming out of that fiscal emergency. So it's the Auditor of State's office that actually will take us totally out of it. But there's been so much completed over the last 2 years to move us forward, to move out of that. Money-wise, we're in great shape. We finished out the year with about a $7 million carryover from going from a deficit just a few years ago to a carryover. And we've got a 5-year plan required by our Fiscal Emergency Commission. We've got a 5-year plan, and we're looking to have a carryover for the next 5 years, and we're doing fine. But a lot of what we are doing now to get out of the fiscal emergency has been working to put the structure in place to run the city like a business. So business people will say, yeah, why can't we run the city like a business? Well, it is a municipality. It is not for profit, right? There's all those things. There's all sorts of, we are a statutory city. There's all sorts of challenges to running the city efficiently and effectively like a business does every day, right? So in a city, do you really have shareholders? Who are your shareholders? Well, who owns all of this stuff? Well, the whole community owns it. Everybody that's living in the community, everybody that's utilizing these services, so it's shared. But that really is the reason why we've got to do it right. That's the reason why we are pushing to put business operations in place. We're trying to make sure that our water department's running well, our public works department is running well, and trying to take advantage of the technology that's out there. Over the 16 years, there were a lot of times where the previous administration struggled with funds, struggled with money for different reasons. We had some bonds that were being paid off that were large, and it was crippling to the city at times. So there have been structural changes that have helped us out a lot with our income and where we're at. But now it's time to rebuild. So with that comes deferred maintenance, we can't buy a new car, we can't buy new police cruisers, we've got to keep these going longer. So now there were all sorts of deferred maintenance things, and that's what we've been working on. So with that, I put this, eat slow, I see a couple of you eating very quick. I put together a presentation that'll take about an hour and a half. So slow down. And desserts, where I don't know, just not really. But I'll work through these. I hope that, and we will post these. I talked to Steve with Norwood Community Television. We'll get this posted up, this presentation. And then I would say, hopefully, that when you leave this room, spread the good word. There are all sorts of great things going on in the city. So, a year in review, 2021, and then 2022. This was supposed to go on in January, and then the extended outlet. We're going to go through some of these projects for the different departments. I'm sorry, Bill, I know if you want me throwing all the numbers out there and going through the budget, it's not going to happen. This is more of a city. So, notable accomplishments of the police department. We improved the tracking software, PL9, giving us additional data sources, the ability to really put our resources, our police resources, where they are needed. We haven't been able to collect the data and really analyze it and do that properly. New body cams and software, always a hot button issue is those body cams. Our drug crew, 148 grams of fentanyl. You might say that doesn't seem like a lot, but you've seen the commercial where, it's like the size of a piece of lead at the end of a pencil is really and it continues, drugs and those continue to be a problem. Numerous wanted individuals. I would say there are numerous unwanted individuals in our community, but we've taken people out of here on warrants for murder charges, theft, aggravated robbery, all of those things. We have a very proactive and a good police department where they are out challenging and getting things done and keeping our community safe. I sleep well at night because I know our police department is so effective and does such a good job. So hire, train, and retaining officers. This is a real challenge for us because although we're a big community, we're a medium-sized community, there's opportunities out there. Cincinnati is paying much more. Salary-wise, they're paying much more than we are right now. But if we can keep our police officers engaged, if we can give them opportunities to grow, it's the exact same challenges that you have with your employees. How do you keep them inspired? How do you keep them motivated? We're working on those things, and that's been an important aspect of what we do. The police department, when others were saying, reduce police funding, we don't really support, we're not doing any of that. I don't think we ever overfunded. We couldn't, right? We went through financial straits. But we did sort of double down on our police department. We made sure they realized that's not what our community is saying. Our community is saying we need to provide our police with the proper resources to keep us safe in the community. One of the things was just getting a paint job on the police headquarters building, which I think looks so much better than the previous. We've bought new police cruisers. We've brought them in. Our officers are doing a great job. They've got the support of the mayor. They've got the support of the administration. They come to us with ideas to save money. They come to us with ideas on how to improve what they're doing. So that's an important aspect of it. The police training center has set mothballed for the last 20 years. It was closed down not because we didn't have money. It was closed down because the state said we're going to do training a little bit differently, and we don't want all these small municipalities to have their own police academy. We started out with our own police academy years and years ago. So this facility sort of became mothballed. We've rebuilt. We're working on the police training center. Some of you might have donated. There was a letter that went out to some of the business members to say, hey, if you'd like to, we'd love you to donate a little bit of money. This is some of the restructuring that was going on. This is, when it first opened up, we in the city of Norwood had a state-of-the-art, and it was ahead of their time, police training center. And there were many, many people all throughout this region that went through the Norwood Police Academy. Much like Scarlet Oaks or Butler County, they have, at the tech schools, they have their police academies, and that's where you could get your certification. My certification came through Scarlet Oaks. I went there to get certified as a police officer. So improvement, we're making improvements. We are not going to open up a new police academy. We're not going to be giving you the OPATA, Ohio Police Officers Training Academy certifications. But what we are going to do is start offering more training to the region's police officers. And as I looked at what was going on in the very beginning of 2021, the big push was we need de-escalation. It seems like every time the police department gets here, it bumps up 3 notches. Wait a minute, I agree, that's not how it should work. When police officers arrive, it should be de-escalating. So we're working on some of these. These are the planned uses. Another one, domestic violence resources, really tough for the police officers to handle, and deal with. And there are a lot of resources out there, but making sure they understand the different organizations, community organizations, the not-for-profits that can help with these things. Diversity training is something we'd like to do in our police department. So the idea is that we will put these seminars together, and they will get a certificate of achievement for attending them. But it's interesting. Officer safety and wellness. This is a tough one, and it sort of goes in line with the work-life balance. I think people, for a while there, sort of forgot that our police officers are just people doing a job. They are our brothers and our sisters and our moms and dads, and my sister's a police officer. They are our neighbors, and we sort of dehumanize them a little bit, but helping them understand, even giving them some class, because that, you do get a chip on your shoulder when you hear so many bad things at times. So some of these, and then the police academy can also be used for these other things. Fire department, over 3,000 medical runs, emergency medical runs out of our firehouse right here in Norwood. It is a ton of medical runs. The interesting part is 3 minutes and 45 seconds is the average amount of time. So if we called them right now from this room because somebody had a medical emergency, they would be here in less than 4 minutes. Paramedics, and when I say paramedics, I'm talking about 2 people that walk in the door that can actually administer medicine, administer drugs to get you back in shape. we are, we're uniquely, we are in a great position because of where all the hospitals are. We get people to the hospital quicker, but we now have a agreement with UC, and when they have a stroke emergency response vehicle, and they will actually respond here. I think their response time is 4 minutes. So our guys, if a call comes in, a certain type of call, we can get that vehicle heading this way the same time our paramedics are heading this way, and they've got a lot more capabilities on handling people with stroke. So we've got really great resources when it comes to this. Highest reach of the ladder truck I put on there is 100 feet. That's interesting to me, but I don't know. Full cardiac arrest, 3 in the last 6 months. Resuscitated and discharged from the hospital. We had a person that had a cardiac arrest from out in California. They came in here and really, there was a letter that was sent back to the fire chief and basically they said, this guy, there's no way this guy would have made it if he would have been, say, in Owington, Kentucky, or someplace further away. He was very lucky to have the service that he got here. Fire department improvements. The building was built in the 70s. It was built right after the high school, right in that same time frame. Our newest high school was built in like 1972, or dedicated in 73, and our firehouse was completed at that same time. Tightening up the roof, concrete repairs, diesel exhaust filtration system. So if you think about all the firefighters, they sleep right with all the equipment, right? Well, the way our firehouse is set up, there's a balcony upstairs, and then all the sleeping quarters are right there, and all the doors open to that. And then you run outside, right? 3 steps out onto the balcony, you hit the fire pool, you're down on the first floor, you're in the truck. Yeah, but when they start those trucks, where's all the diesel fumes go? Right up there, right in the door, right where everybody else is sleeping. So every time they go out, so we've made some changes there. You think about that firehouse was made for one gender, and that's pretty much all it's set up for is one, and that's not going to work in the future. So we're putting money in the budget to make changes to the firehouse and get it to where we can actually, because we need to tap into resources for staffing, absolutely. Utility vehicle upgrades, 2 new ambulances. We were scheduled to have an ambulance. We also used CARES Act money to get another ambulance. So we're sitting pretty good for ambulances, and the power lift cots. You think about how you keep your employees on the line when it comes to paramedics. How do you keep them working? When they go out because they've strained their back or have a problem, you got to bring another guy in on overtime. So we're looking at ways to eliminate, much like the Bureau of Workers' Comp does for any other job. How can you eliminate those workplace injuries? And workplace injuries are really challenging. So Lucas devices, the auto CPR, we've got one of those in each ambulance. We didn't have those before, and we've got new defibrillators. Did I go the wrong way here? This was our newest vehicle. This is a Gladiator, the ladder truck. We had a ladder truck wasn't scheduled to be replaced for another 3 years. So this, think about how much a ladder truck costs nowadays. It's over $500,000. So if a city's not sure they've got to do this, you're not putting that. So we had a major catastrophic failure of our ladder truck, and we were able to work a deal with Cincinnati, and we purchased this ladder truck for $80,000, and we had it online in less than 3 months. This was a vehicle that they had purchased, but it was too big for the firehouses, the different they've got a couple of them. They bought a couple of them, but then it was too big, so they took it out of service. It was sort of a backup. It was a reserve. But I ended up calling the mayor, and Mayor Cranley and I worked a deal, and we ended up getting this. So that extends that payment. We won't have to purchase that new ladder truck for a couple more years. We're still going to have to purchase one. This isn't brand new, clearly, and it's not going to have the full service life. But it was a great deal and a great way for the city to get back up to full capabilities. New ambulance, these ambulances are mid-sized, and they're working great for us. This is our brand new engine pumper that we just purchased. We typically get, we're getting 15 years out of a fire truck, or 20 years out of a fire truck. This is a new Seagraves that was just built, and it's a phenomenal. It's got all sorts of nice upgrades and capabilities that it brings with it. This is that cot that I was talking about, the power cot, where if you look at any of the old 70s and 80s TV, when they're lifting that person, they throw them in This, you hook it up, they hit a button, it lifts and puts them right in, which is nice. There's still a lot, if you think about moving people, one job that I did for a little while was moving person. That's a lot of work. When you're talking about what these guys are doing on a regular basis, there's a lot of picking up and moving people. Public Works, and a little Public Works truck there. We activated See-Click-Fix. This is one of those things, trying to run the operation like a business. So See-Click-Fix is software that you have on your phone. Hopefully you have, all of you who live in the city of Norwood have the app on your phone. And if you see something out there, you see a pothole, or you see a sign down, or you see a traffic light that needs to be, you can go into See-Click-Fix and put it on there. A big part of See-Click-Fix is collecting the data. So all of our operation at Public Works is now going through See-Click-Fix. All of the operators or all the lead men are working on See-Click-Fix, and we can look at where we need to put more resources. In the past, they would say, well, we need a couple more guys in this department, a couple more guys in that department. You say, well, why? How? You couldn't really quantify the reasoning for staffing. And we've started doing that now. We have the ability to pull the data and say, this is how many people we need in our Parks Department. This is how many people we need in our Streets Department. And it also gives us, that See-Click-Fix gives us the ability to satisfy the customers, satisfy the community members. You put it in, there's resources within there to get back to the person and say the work order you put in has been taken care of. So it's an important part. Preventive maintenance, everybody talks about streets. When I was campaigning, I'd go on, it seemed like every other person that I talked to would say, are you going to fix my street? You're going to fix Montgomery? Are you going to fix streets? I got to the point where but preventive maintenance is a big part of keeping our streets in good shape. And we really haven't had the resources to even do preventive maintenance properly. When I was superintendent of Public Works for a period of time, they said, sorry, we don't have any money. We don't have any money for pothole repairs, for cold patch or hot patch to repair potholes. How's that? Think about, you're in a position there where you're like, oh my gosh, how do you fix things that we're in much better shape there. We budget for it. We also have equipment. We have what's called a hot patch trailer. So they basically dump a load into this trailer, and it's got a heated bed, and you can plug it in at night in the shop over there, and it'll keep it hot and steamy and ready to go all morning. So we've got the equipment. We're moving forward with the equipment. Just to hit on the top of, we over 100 acres. The city has over 100 acres of green space that they have to maintain. And this isn't just going out there with a tractor and running it over 100 acres for you farmers out there. I know you probably heard a couple. But this is 100 acres that really needs to be, in my opinion, groomed and manicured. These are soccer fields. These are baseball fields. These are the outfields. These are parks and playgrounds. And we do want them groomed and manicured. We want them looking great. So they're spending a lot of time on that. 28 times, in Cincinnati region, about 28 times a year. But it's a lot of work. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people that are destructive in the parks at times. There's a lot of people that have large parties in our parks. And it really does push our Parks Department to the limit at times. But I think we did a great job last year. I think we've got a great crew working in those parks, and we'll continue to do that. 6 baseball, soccer fields, 9 city park shelters. All of our baseball fields are being upgraded as we speak. We've got new dugouts going in. Knothole, this is going to be one of the best years for Knothole, one of the best years for soccer in years. So, and then numerous trees planted, trimmed, removed, taking care of the trees. Everybody loves to have a tree, and we love planting trees, but it does take some time and effort. You'd like to think you just plant a tree and then you don't have to do anything, but we all know it takes time and effort with trees. So there are 5 departments: parks, streets, garage, paint and sign, and then the water department. Paint and sign, you think, well, do you need a paint and sign? I ask you to do this. When you go out and get in your car and drive down the street, think about all the signs you see, the municipal signs. They're everywhere, and they get damaged constantly, and they're getting taken down and stolen by somebody. And so think about it really is a full-time job. You wouldn't believe it, but golly, it's a lot of work. And then our water department. This is some of the equipment we've purchased for our parks or for our public works department. You know, new vehicles, it takes these large vehicles to get the work done. You can see on the back of this one is the salt spreader attachment that's on there. And then once the season's over, they take that salt spreader off, that big piece of equipment. It has an auger and has hydraulic motor, or hydraulic pumps on it. They take that off and set it to the side, and then they can use this for others. So all of our trucks are sort of utilitarian in that manner. New pickup trucks. You know, years ago, I was driving and I was behind a public works truck, and he came up to a stop sign, and none of his brake lights worked. One of his mud flaps was off. The whole back part of it was all rusted out. And I understand the guy who was driving it, that wasn't his fault, but it was poor planning on our part, on the administration's part, to not making sure they had the vehicles that were necessary to do the job right and to represent the city well. I think if they represent the city well and do a good job, every community member would say, well, sure, why wouldn't we pay our public works guys a little bit more money? But if they don't represent the city well, guess what, fellas? You're not going anywhere, and you're probably not going to get the things that you need to do your job properly. So we've taken the level of professionalism up in the public works department. Clint is working with them. We're working on training, different things. The street sweeper fell apart on us right at the end, so we had to get a new street sweeper. A street sweeper is, right now, they're $125,000, $130,000 used. We were able to get this one for $80,000, and we put it in service, and we've got a plan to purchase a new street sweeper as we move on out. But we're trying to really make decisions and make purchases that work long-term for us and work within our financial recovery plan. This on the one picture is the hot patch or the tar machine. There's a tar kettle, and basically when a lot of the damage that you have on the city streets is when it opens up and then water gets down into the street, into the subsurface. So you'll see that streets that are alligated all over the place. That means there are just cracks everywhere. That's where potholes, that's where it all opens up. Throw a load of salt on there and then come by with a plow truck in the winter to clear it, and you got major problems. Well, filling in the cracks with the tar, keeping the water out of there from getting in there and freeze thaw is an important part of the preventive maintenance of it. And then the mower that you're seeing is a slope mower. So this thing is 5 feet wide, and it'll go pretty much on any surface that we have where we have to mow. What comes to mind right away is if you get off if you're at Smith and Williams and you look over the hill, that's Duck Creek. There's a small part of Duck Creek down there, and it has a really steep hill. And I've watched our guys ride the mowers on that, but really we should be using a slope mower. So that's one area, and they're all over in our parks. They're all over in our green space areas. But one of the biggest places we're going to be able to use this is on 562. So when we get 562 cleaned up and we remove some of the brush and all of that on there, we can start mowing. What mowing will do is take away all the things that grab the trash. Everywhere along 562, there are weeds sticking up, and the bag comes and hits it. So now you let the trash go. It's still going to be there. I wish we could say we're going to catch every person who's littering on 562. Impossible. But by doing this, the trash does move to one area, and you have one area that you need to collect up trash. It's not the whole highway all the way down where you, oh my gosh, such a mess. So we are working in that area. Recreation and parks. Are you guys finished eating already? I don't see anybody eating yet still. Dang on it. All right, you're good. Thanks for taking care of me. So we just purchased, right? We purchased the old Norwood, I hate to call it the old, it was the Norwood Recreation Building, or the Norwood YMCA building. And it is an older building, but they took pretty good care of it. It's not a perfect building, so we're working on that. We've got a lot of improvements going on in the parks. The biggest offering in our recreation is membership to our recreation building with the fitness center and all those different things. But we've worked on some of these other ones. Hunter Park improvements. We put in a dog park. I'll show you a picture of that. Revitalization of the Worth Room at Waterworks. So we have a lot of rooms in City Hall that were filled with stuff, or they weren't being utilized. They were utilized for storage, or they just weren't set up properly. Now we have them set up where if you're having a birthday party, or if you're having an anniversary, if your mom's turning 80 years old, you can rent this. So we got some rental income coming in. All we had to do was get rid of all the garbage that was in there, clean them up some, and we've got rental income coming in for the city. Concrete restoration, we're working on Waterworks swim pool right now, putting a liner in Baseball field improvements I talked about. Rental park improvements I talked about. The senior community center has been cleaned up and painted and reactivated. So we're working on that. If you haven't been in the gym in the senior center, it looks awesome. Even the downstairs area, which is our main rental area for weddings or bigger events down in the community center, has been painted. We've refloored it. It's looking beautiful now too. So if you've got a wedding coming up, book that place for it. Victory Park Gazebo, Recreation and Parks. We took out the big swim pool. There was a concrete swim pool at Victory Park on Montgomery Road. Right in the heart of our city, we had this huge swim pool that had been deactivated years ago, and it was just sitting there, and it was just a big concrete eyesore. We took that out, and we reactivated the lawn. So instead of it being a swim pool, you see right here, Shakespeare in the Park. We've got community events going on there. Behind it is the old safety lane or Norwood's old market house. That has been cleaned out. It's almost empty. I think the last city auction we had was just closed out last Friday. So there's still some stuff that needs to be cleaned out, but there's nobody in there anymore. We used to have some city offices in there, and we had some operations going on. We used it for a lot of storage. We've cleaned that out. So we're going to reactivate that. Not sure how. We're going to look at what kind of proposals come in. Some people with vision and with plans that come in and say, this is what we think we can do there. And then we'll discuss it from there. But that building's going to be reactivated. This is the movie night. I could just read the stuff. And then added features to movie night. It was Jurassic Park, right? So that's my mom right there in the green one, Lois. And these are friends of mine. We brought the dinosaurs for the kids. It was so much fun. There were probably 30 kids there just running around, just having so much. And then we have a Jurassic Park Jeep in the city of Norwood, a resident in the city of Norwood. So we contacted her, and she brought it up there too. So it was just a great event, just so much fun for families and adults and everybody involved. This is some of the work going on at Waterworks. New doors, steel doors. If you think about Waterworks as a pool, these are steel doors that have been rusted out and were a mess. So we're working on some of those. And this is some of the park improvements. Hunter Park bathrooms, just cleaning them up, getting good shingles on them, and getting them in good shape. This is one of the playground sets that are in there. This is that dog park. I don't know how many of you have been to dog parks where you have sort of a foyer area where you walk your dog in, and then you can close both gates, and then you can take them off the leash and you put them in one area and close it. So that's the part of that system. So there's a huge area of the dog park, and then there's a smaller area of the dog park. I guess you segregate I don't go to dog parks, but you segregate the big dogs from the little dogs or something. So yeah, so then this is some of the tree planting and different things going on. Jeannie Sickinger, some people know Jeannie Sickinger in town. She's a pretty well-known person. Tony Wise, a friend of mine, and Vicki Gary, and just a whole crew. We continue to have great community volunteers. Every time we put something out there, I haven't talked to Donna about it, but we're going to have an Arbor Day celebration this year. We're going to try to get free trees. We're going to try to do the plant swap again, which we did years ago. So it seems like every event that we put out there, people jump at it and say, I'll help, or let's do it. Let's make this happen. And that's really, as a mayor, I cannot appreciate that anymore. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that the community members are just ready. Anytime we've got an initiative, they're ready to help. Here's another bathroom. This is at Burwood Park, and if you look on the left side of this building, this was an old bathhouse at a swim pool. We removed the swim pool that was there. Another big concrete monstrosity, probably built in 1952, 55. So we finally removed that. It's green space again. It opens it up for other things. This building is a WPA building, and really interesting. The bathroom's in there, and then the middle area was a storage area or a crafts area. As I was growing up, and Bob, as you and I were growing up, we had in all our parks there were park leaders, and they did crafts in each of those. So Alice could send her kids out of the house and say, walk on over to Marsh Park, because the craft starts at 9:00, and they would walk on over. And the same thing here this is Upper Millcrest. Kids could walk right over there. There was a parks leader there. Everything was good. We don't really utilize that much, but then the one on the other side is Fenwick Park. And that is a great park for family reunions. You got a baseball field there, softball field. You've got horseshoes, cornhole there. There's all sorts of room. There's a great play area for the kids. And then when we used it for our family reunion, we set up the badminton rackets. It's perfect, absolutely perfect as a rental for that. And this is Lower Millcrest, some of the work that we did there. Got some other visitors. Don't worry, we chased it right off. No, we didn't chase. We didn't chase it off. But there are deer, Donna. You know, there's deer all over up in your area.
All of them.
Yeah.
I had 6 of them in my driveway the other night when I came home. I was standing in the driveway and I'm like, are y'all gonna move?
Me not so. We're more down. I'm more down this side. She's up. I call it the hillbilly land. Oh, no, it's not. She's up north. So the recreation building, I talked a little bit about us taking over this building. You know, fitness room, indoor swimming pool, swim lessons, water aerobics, lap swimming, basketball, pickleball, volleyball, volleyball, racquetball, yoga, taekwondo, and then the events rooms. We brought so much more to our community when we purchased this for the whopping sum of $1. It's incredible what we got and what we are providing now compared to what we were providing a year ago, 2 years ago. And it's fully active right now. We've got a great recreation director that is working on making sure that that thing is running at peak performance. They're selling memberships. It's incredible. It really brings, you know, when I talk about this, it sort of brings chill bumps up because we've never had this. There have been ideas about a real we had the community center, senior community center, which was the school that we purchased and we refurbished but never have we had something like this in our community. It really, in my opinion, sets Norwood on a different stage of where we are. So I don't want to go through all these things, but we are working on. We've got an engineering study, ADA accessibility. We're working on that. We're gonna have to add some different things to it. It's expensive, but I think pretty much, you know, I'm sure there are some naysayers in the community, but they're not talking to me. The people I talk to are, let's go, let's keep this thing going, let's make it usable for all, and that's what we're doing right now. So it's really. If you haven't been there, stop by. They'll give you a tour of it. You can walk through. You know, if you start lifting weights, we're gonna tell you need to have a membership. Or you come walking in with your swimsuit on, you don't have sorry, but you can just come on in and say okay. So a lot of changes on how we run the city. You know, personnel policy and procedure manual, didn't have one before. Strange, you got 200 and something employees, you don't have a personnel policy. A human resources department didn't have one before. So we've got that in place. And it brings so much to the people who are supervising, and it brings so much to the people that are being supervised. It sets the playing field. It sets where they are. Look it up. You got a question, look it up. And the supervisor, the guy who just got promoted is now a supervisor, is not like, well, I don't know, or they tell him. It's all right there. It's critically important. Part of it is retention, holding on to our people, helping them understand. We've got a project coordinator, all this stuff. I'd like to say that the safety service director can just poof and all these things happen. But, you know, this is a municipality. This is a statutory form of government. We have to get 3 bids. We have to go out and do, you know, post it. Sometimes we have to legally post and get, you know, it has to be closed bids. So there's a lot of different hoops that this project coordinator has to go through to get these projects completed. Safety service director search and appointment. I was so lucky to have John Murphy work as my safety service director when I first came on as the mayor, because we were reshaping so much stuff and we were rebuilding relationships. And he was a communicator and he was a positive thinker. And he just exuded confidence in the staff and in everything we were trying to accomplish. He did such a great job. And he was ready. You know, I basically said, John, I need you to come on through the transition time, 6 months. Well, think about what happened in those 6 months. Riots, curfew, COVID. And he worked hard to get us through those times, 2 years. And then he was ready. He had some different challenges. He also wanted to do some traveling. His wife had finally retired. You know how that happens. But she had finally retired so that he could move and travel around. So then we did the search and we came up with what I consider to be Noah Powers, one of the best safety service directors we could have hired for the city of Norwood. A background in human resources administration, critically needed within the city. A background working for a municipality that has really the same type of government, the same statutory government. So he brings such a fresh perspective. A background in working in the union atmosphere and negotiating contracts and understanding. So Noah's been a real blessing to the city, and I really appreciate that he's here today, and I appreciate all the work that you do, Noah. Civil service rules and regulations, we're a statutory city, civil service employees, it's hard to get all that stuff and make sure it's right. And then this is the first time ever where we've had a new council coming in and we've had a new council orientation. So they sat down in a room just like this and we went through, here's some of the steps, here's some of the things that you need to know as a new council member so that they could hit the ground running. So they didn't fall into some of the pitfalls that have happened in years past. So I think that we're setting a standard and moving in the right direction. We've got an absolutely beautiful city hall. I talked a little bit about clearing out surplus items. One of the first things we did was engage Hamilton County's web auction site. So we signed an agreement with Hamilton County so we can post all of our surplus items. That old printer that doesn't work anymore, that you couldn't just throw away because it's public property, it goes on the auction website and then somebody bids on it. And they do bid on a lot of stuff. We've made a lot of money on this auction website. But these are rooms, you look at this room was totally filled. You almost couldn't even open the door to get into this room because over the years, they just took things that they said and just shoved it in there because you couldn't shove it in the dumpster. So we've been removing this stuff. And I think last year it was about $70,000 in money that came into the city from stuff that was just sitting in a closet that was sitting. And we're able to utilize these spaces. We've got office space to do things and to really move forward. So, and then taking care of things like City Hall. As I said, it's a beautiful building, but much like the trees, everything takes a little bit of care. So working on those things. Heritage Park right next to City Hall. This was taken care of. The previous executive assistant to the mayor got involved in this from the get-go. He wanted to make this change, and Tom worked to get this through. He worked to make sure that the city didn't pay anything for this. We got a $100,000 grant to do this. So Tom worked diligently to make this happen, and it's a beautiful park now right next to City Hall. And maybe we could use that for the plant swap, for the Arbor Day stuff. We'll see. But it's items like this where the staff that's in place are really working hard and working diligently to utilize the funds there in the best manner possible. Some of the plans, I'm getting towards the end. I'm sorry. So Factory 52 is the huge, right? The playing card company is gone. Factory 52, I love the name of it, right? Everybody catches the 52 thing. Right? We've also got Seasons 52 if you haven't been there, but Seasons 52 is a little bit different. How many decks or how many cards in a deck of cards? 52. 52. Okay. In fact, so homage to, and they're keeping the clock tower, and there's some elements to that are going to be. That's just going to be phenomenal. And if you go past there, it's coming out of the ground so quick, and there's so many people working over there. It's awesome. Police Training Center, making positive improvements in the region, really. It is. We are lucky enough in the city of Norwood to be able to be an influence on the region in a positive way. And that's what I think we're going to be doing with that Police Training Center. Park improvements, tons of them. Street improvement plan, we've got tons going on. We're working on not just residential streets and trying to get it through all the 4 wards in the city of Norwood, but we're working on the Montgomery Road Streetscape plan, which was part of the mini development plan. You worked on it quite a bit, Steve, didn't you? But we're working on those things. Mary just worked with me. I should say I worked with Mary because she did most of it, but getting new street signage up on Montgomery Road and trying to improve our ability to navigate around the city of Norwood. I know everybody uses GPS, but people do look at those signs still, So a lot of that stuff. We're working on Montgomery Road, the main corridor of Montgomery Road. So basically from the Norwood Lateral up to probably Monroe right now, doing some street thinning and trying to increase our pedestrian safety and potentially improve the size and increase the size of the sidewalks. So we can maybe do some different things with some of those buildings that are there, restaurants and stuff. So it's going to be very interesting. The next few years are going to be interesting. Guaranteed, ODOT, Ohio Department of Transportation, has plans for 562, which is the Norwood Lateral, for 22 and 3, which is Montgomery Road, runs right through here, right? State Route 22 and 3, and also for 561. So we're going to see a lot of paving going on in those areas over the next few years, and we're going to continue our residential plans. Regent Avenue, we're working on that. On Regent Avenue, we replaced the whole water main going down through it, and we're replacing all the feed lines going up to the homes, eliminating lead lines that we have in the community also. And then Slane, we're working on that street. So we are working on these residential streets also. We're going to continue to do that. Lincoln, Ralston, South Jefferson, we're looking at those too. All of these are street plans that we are asking, we're making applications to try to use it as matching funds. So our money out of our general operating to match, you give us $1 million and we'll give you 200,000. If you will, we really will. So we're working on all those, and that's an important part of having staff at City Hall and staff, much like Catherine with HCDC doing our economic development work, doing such a great job for us. Mike Skelly, as our community development person, is doing a great job putting things in place and making sure all that stuff happens. Sometimes you say, boy, I don't know, that person, I had to pay them, $70,000 or $80,000. And if you were in financial straits, you might get rid of that job. But when you really look at what some of these people are bringing to the table, Clint is out there. Clint just picked up a $325,000 or $327,000 grant. He went to the Ohio EPA. He worked on it. He got that done. That's incredible. And those are the people that we've got working for us right now at the city. So I talked a little bit about some of this. This is Montgomery Road, the municipal road fund. We got $100,000 coming in there, $765,000 in the SORTA grant. It's crazy the amount of money that is out there for the city of Norwood that we can capture if we do things right. We've got to put the right things in place. We're working on Elm Avenue. There's an Elm Avenue storm sewer problem, and we're working on that, and we're putting the structure in place to make the right applications for them to review it and give us what needs to be done. So those are all important parts. Liz, you've worked on a lot of that stuff with us and said that, I think you said that to me at the very beginning, like, Victor, you gotta get the structure in place. So State Route 561, we talked about also, the portions and how much all those are. Elm Avenue, I talked a little bit about that. Continuous improvement, this is another part. You guys are doing this on a regular basis. In part of your business life, you're doing this. You're looking at where you're allocating things and trying to identify better ways to do it. This is the same thing that we're doing at City Hall. So we're identifying and then justifying the needs, coming up with really, is it justified that we would even continue on with this process? Defining the process to get it done, figuring out the resources. You got to have the right people to figure out the resources. You got to know the right people to call to figure out the right resources. And we've got those people, I think. Aligning those and then taking action, making sure that we grab it. When they offer it, we grab it. Donna, I know in years past, there have been grants that you've applied for and been able to get, but we've turned down or we didn't take advantage of them at times. And you scratch your head and say, why couldn't we make this happen? But we're trying to eliminate that. I can think of one that I was probably involved in, Donna, that you're like, yeah, you did that to me. But I'm telling you, we're working to move forward that. Then study the results and improve upon it. It might be that we do have to go back a step and do something a little bit differently. And it might be that we are looking at something and they say, we tried that 20 years ago. We tried that 15 years ago. It didn't work. We're going to try it again. We're going to look at it. We're going to figure out if it'll work. And then we move forward from there because maybe it just was a timing thing. So we're working on all those. It's an important process of that continuous improvement that's going to continue to go. When I was talking to the Financial Recovery Commission and talking to our fiscal supervisor, so we're going to continue this 5-year plan. We're going to continue working to make sure that our budget and that all of our finances are in shape so that we can continue to have, the success we've had in our infrastructure and improvements and all the improvements around the city, but also we can continue that for years to come. And we take Norwood off of this peaks and valleys where we're doing great and then we drop back down and then maybe we're going to take it to where it gets up here and then we're going to try to plateau and stay there so that all the good things that you're seeing happening can be maintained. Aspect of a resident, so a couple of your residents here, Alex, I see you back there. The parks, the recreation facilities, the events, the public service, all those things, that 3-minute and 45-second response time when somebody said, those are all incredibly important. Business owner, Norwood, this location, I mean, you can't beat it if you can get in it. I know that at times it's hard for businesses to stay in Norwood because there's tough, the infrastructure's here, the qualified staff is here, regional population density, everything's here, customer base. And, when I wrote this part, city leadership is willing to support new ideas and investment in our community. Absolutely. So, if there's something we can do, we've got the staff in place and they'll work with you on it. I should have set a timer, I guess, to figure out exactly how long I did, but that's it, everyone. If you'd like, I'll take questions. If you don't have any questions right now and something comes up later, feel free, to get a hold of me at City Hall or call me anytime. Anything that jumps out at you?
I have a question. You indicated, or you addressed Factory 52 a few moments ago. Isn't there another sort of looks like mega structure going in next to Siemens or thereabouts over there? Or is that all part of Factory?
That's all part of Factory 52. On this side of the highway, all of it is Factory 52 stuff, yeah. Yeah, the other side of the highway is Cincinnati, Oakley area, and they've got some residential and different things going on, but everything on this side is, yeah.
What's the status on the former Zumbia site on?
Yeah.
It's sitting there. They are looking. Remember that when they originally took that down and purchased it, they put it out as a big office building, and they've got beautiful renderings of this office building. But office space is not going unless you've already got a use for your office space. People are not building office space right now, so they've had to step back and sort of really rethink that property. Somebody else? Yeah.
Mayor Steve Johnson, Hamilton County Planning Development. Just more a thank you than a question. It's been wonderful to work with you and your staff. I think there's a budding partnership between the county and Norwood, and we'd just like to see that continue. Just a really heartfelt thanks for all the work that you've done.
All right, thanks. Thank you. Steve, I've got that money for you when we're through.
I get
Yeah.
this question every time we go down Montgomery Road. What is happening to the old Quality building, the hotel?
Gosh,
No, I wanna know.
we had a new owner, and we had something. It was like that fishing thing where you're at. We had a new owner that we thought was going to close on it, and the deal. I think it was February, right at the end of February, that the deal fell through. So it's still on standby. We are still working diligently to get somebody to grab it and develop it. It's tough because the owners know the value of it, and they've put some money into it, and they recognize that just holding it the way it is for a while longer is going to get them more money.
Who are the owners?
Well, they're out of state. They're from Texas. They're not driving up and down Montgomery Road.
Yeah.
As you well know. So we're still working hard on it. That's something that Catherine. I at the end of the month, I was hoping Catherine was going to call and tell me, no, it didn't. What we have been very successful on is the old Perry and Derrick site, which Donna was a super fun cleanup site at one time.
It was.
And it's been cleaned up. There's still some brownfield. There's still a lot of work in there. But we were lucky enough to get the port to purchase that. So the port has all sorts of capabilities, and they're going to do some work there on demolition. And then we'll see what goes in there. We're working on that too. So other questions?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you already did one.
All right.
Oh, wait a minute. Anybody else? Anybody? Okay, David, go ahead.
I noticed there were orange barrels out on the Metro, and considering that, I guess HCDC is putting how much, $1 million in new windows and renovating, they've redone the restrooms. Are there any plans to really take a look at Mentor, the part between Houston and down to Xavier? Because it's my 30 years plus, it seemed like we were always having cave-ins every once in a while. Have there been any plans to take a look at that and see if something could be done to a more permanent fix?
No. And I don't know why the orange barrels are there, Dave. I'm sorry, but I'll find out, and I will talk to Clint about that, because I know that was something that you and I had talked about years and years ago about some challenges there. So,
Well, but I also want to thank you for coming. I appreciate your presentation and the professionalism you demonstrated for the city, not only the residents, for the business community as well.
thank you. Appreciate you saying that. Donna?
I just want to make a comment that Clint Zimmerman is maybe the best hire you ever did.
Oh, you got all you other, everybody else is like,
And I don't mean that, I don't mean that on because a lot of the people that you hired are wonderful. But I think the thing that people see the most is the change in public works. At the last snowstorm, the city of Cincinnati was scandalous the way their streets looked. And you could tell, we live in the north, right on the edge, and you could tell exactly when you left the city of Norwood and when you were going into Cincinnati. The public works people have just had a totally different attitude since he's been down there. And they have I just want to say kudos to them. I send them thank you notes all the time, every time. When you put it in click fix and it's done, or I text Clint and the next day it's done, signs are down, the next day they're up. I just want to convey to you how that's been the biggest change, and I think people see that on a daily basis, so.
thank you.
Kudos to
Yeah,
Clint.
I'll make sure they know that. Yeah. Clint knows that because I say it to him every week, it seems, thank you, good job, you did this, so, yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any other items for the good of the order? Kathy, you got anything else we need to add? Donna, anybody? Yeah. Okay, the survey, all right. Liz, do you want to talk about the survey a little bit, or you want me to? Okay. The board of the Chamber Board is having a strategic planning retreat in early April. Prior to that, we are having a survey go out to Norwood businesses, chamber members, but also non-chamber members to get an idea what direction should the chamber be taking as far as representing the business community. So I believe there's a link on the chamber website. You can get it. There's also, you can download it, or unfortunately, I've only got one here, but I've got a copy of the survey with me. But we'd appreciate it if you could fill out the survey and send it back to us. Probably the easiest way is electronically. It's set up. Kathy, is it set up now?
It's not set up yet, but everyone's gonna get an email with the link to it.
Okay. Everyone will get an email? Great. And we're looking at that as far as our planning session. And what direction do we want to take? Do we need to go as far as the chamber is concerned as being a true business partner for the city? I was sitting here, I'm very impressed with the professionalism and where the city direction is going. But if you get the chance, please fill out the survey and turn it in. Also, the lunch today, it was from Mound Cafe, Julie Peters in the back. Also, the chamber member. Anyone else have anything, questions or anything for the good of the order? Okay, thank you for attending.